Hello, all my dear students. I am Professor CMA Ashvi Srimali. Today, we are going to talk on the subject Business Regulatory Framework. Thereunder, we will talk on this chapter, the Sale of Goods Act 1930. Herein, we will start with our first topic, that is Contract of Sale of Goods. So in this slide, the Sale of Goods Act 1930, we have covered in this session the contents like contract of sale of goods, essentials of a contract of sale of goods, and distinguish between sale and agreement to sell. So contract of sale of goods will elaborate the basic terminology behind Sale of Goods Act. Essentials of a contract of sale of goods will define the essential elements to constitute the sale. And the third point we will study, that is distinguish between sale and agreement to sell. Now let us understand this one by one. That is first, contract of sale of goods. There are certain provisions are given for the contract of sale of goods to be executed as a contract. So when any transaction between buyer and seller takes place, to constitute it in a contract, there have been some provisions given in the Act of Sale of Goods, which are that firstly, the contract of sale of goods came into existence on 1st July 1930. So it is important to remember that Sale of Goods Act was formed on 1st July 1930. The second point says it contains provisions relating to sale of movable property only. So in this act you will see the provisions only relating with the movable property. Movable property means any kinds of movable goods. The third point will say the general provisions of Indian Contract Act continues to apply to Sale of Goods Act. Whatever there is a provision in Contract Act between the parties of contractee, that is maybe the contractor and the contractee, whatever provisions applies to them, same provisions also applies to the Sale of Goods Act, that means to the transactions between buyer and seller. Then so let us understand the definition of contract of sale of goods first. A contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. So it is important to understand the definition. It is very simplest definition given. What they said, a contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the buyer transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods. Buyer transfers or agrees to transfer property in goods to the buyer for a price. So seller is making agreement to transfer the property of goods to the buyer for a price. That means there should be some consideration, some exact consideration. Let us understand this with the example. P transfers ownership in 100 books to Q in consideration for a price of ₹1000. Here P is called a seller and Q is called a buyer. If you can see from the example, there are the exact number of price, that is consideration, and the goods are also specific one. So goods are 100 books and consideration is ₹1000. So to constitute it as a sale, there should be transfer of property in goods from seller to the buyer for a price. Now, to constitute a valid sale, there are some essentials of a contract of sale of goods. Essentials means without which you cannot say that the sale is properly executed between the seller and the buyer. That is, first is two parties. What it says, there must be two parties, that is seller and the buyer. So to constitute it as a proper sale, there should be at least two parties, the seller and the buyer. The second essential is transfer of property. It is also necessary that the seller must either or agrees to transfer the property in goods. Only when the sale will execute, when the property in the sale will transfer from seller to the buyer with the title of ownership and also with the possession. Third point says goods. It says goods means every kind of movable property other than actionable claims and money. Why money is excluded from the goods? Because money is a form of consideration. Hence, you cannot call it as a goods. So, the Act excluded money from the concept of goods. But it includes stock and shares, growing crops, grass, and things attached to or forming part of the land. So, they have given some extra definition or some extra points regarding with the goods. That is, it includes the stocks and shares, it also includes growing crops, it also includes the grass and things attached to or forming part of the land, and also it will include all kind of movable property. So these are the essentials of a contract of sale of goods. That is, first is two parties, second is transfer of property, and third is there should be the movable goods. Now it is also important to see the difference between sale and agreement to sale. So my dear students, there can be the two concepts which are probably used in the Sale of Goods Act, that is sale and agreement to sale. If you think from the word sale, you will get the meaning what is it, and if you think of the word agreement to sale, that means there should be some provisions relating to the sale. That means it is just an agreement to sale. Here the sale is not have constituted yet. So let us understand this in deeper. First point, property in goods has passed from the seller to the buyer. In case of sale, you can say that the sale is executed only when the property in goods has passed from the seller to the buyer. But in agreement to sale, transfer takes place at a future time or subject to some conditions thereafter to be fulfilled. The sale will only takes place at a future time because it is just an agreement to sale. So the sale is going to be executed at a future time or subject to some conditions. Once the conditions are get fulfilled, the sale will get automatically executed. Second point says it is an executed contract and it is an executory contract. Executed means what? It is the contract is already completed in all the respect. So the possession of property is also transferred from seller to the buyer and the consideration is also received. But in an agreement to sale, it is an executory contract, that is yet to be executed. Hence it is called as executory. Then come to the third point. In a sale, the property in the goods passes to the buyer immediately at the time of making the contract. So once you make the sale, the property in the goods passes to the buyer immediately. But in an agreement to sale, the sale becomes actual sale either by the expiry of certain time or the fulfillment of some conditions. So here the possession and the property in the goods cannot get immediately transferred at the time of agreement. It gets transferred only after expiry of certain time or fulfillment of certain conditions. The next point, risk of loss passes with the ownership, and in case of agreement, risk of loss falls on the seller even though goods are in possession with buyer. Here the sale is already executed, so the ownership already passed on to the buyer. Hence the risk of loss will also pass to the buyer. In case of any loss to the property, that will be suffered by the buyer itself. But in case of agreement to sale, the risk of loss falls on the seller because the sale is not yet executed even though the goods are in possession with the buyer. If the goods already are in possession with the buyer but the sale is not yet completed, whatever will be the risk of loss, or if any loss suffered to the property, will be bear by the seller. Next, if buyer commits any breach, the seller may sue for the price even though goods are in his possession. So if the buyer commits any breach means what? If he fails to or he denies to pay for consideration for the goods, the seller may sue for the price even though the seller has not passed the goods to the buyer. In case of agreement to sell, if buyer fails to pay for goods, the seller can file suit only for damages and not for the price, even though goods are in his possession of buyer, because already the sale is not yet executed. Hence he can only file the suit for damages and not for the price. Then the next is, in case of sale, the ownership, as the ownership is with the buyer, the seller cannot resell the goods to the second buyer because the sale is already executed and the possession and the ownership of the goods is with the buyer. Hence seller cannot resell the goods without the permission of buyer. If in the agreement to sell, if seller sells some goods to second buyer, then original buyer can only claim for damages but cannot recover the goods because sale has not yet made. Hence the buyer only can claim for the damages, as there is an agreement between seller and buyer for the sale and the seller has breached that agreement. Hence the buyer can only claim for damages. The next point, if seller commits breach, the buyer can sue for recovery of goods. So if now seller is committing the breach, that means seller is not passing on the ownership to the buyer. In this case, the buyer can have the right to recover the goods from the seller. But in case of agreement to sell, buyer can sue only for damages for breach of contract but cannot recover the goods. So here, as you know, sale is not yet completed. So here the buyer can also make for damages or sue for damages but cannot recover the goods. Next, here buyer can exercise all property rights in respect of theirs. So buyer have all the rights in respect of the property, whether to sell it to the third person or whatever extension have to be made, anything, or to use it. But in case of agreement to sell, it gives right to either buyer or seller against the other for default in fulfilling his part of the agreement. Means if the seller fails to make his agreement or fulfill his obligation, the buyer has a right to own the property, and if the buyer fails, the seller will execute the right. Next, if seller becomes insolvent and goods are still in his possession, the buyer can recover the goods from the official receiver. Now if seller is insolvent and there has been appointed an official receiver, the buyer has a right, because the sale already executed, the buyer has the right to recover his goods from such official receiver of the seller. But in case of agreement to sell, if the seller becomes insolvent and if buyer has paid the price in advance, then he can only claim for retable dividend but cannot recover the goods. Even though he has paid the price, but as the sale is not yet done, he can only claim for the dividend, retable dividend on the amount whichever he have been given to the seller, but cannot recover the goods. And last, now if the buyer is insolvent, before paying price of the goods, the seller would deliver the goods to the official receiver and entitle only for retable dividend. and if buyer insolvent and he is not paid the price, he may refuse to deliver the goods to the official receiver unless he pays the full price. Okay, so this is what about the distinction between sale and agreement to sale. After discussing the difference between sale and agreement to sale, let us understand the meaning of goods first. What they have said in regards with the goods, all actionable claims are referred to as goods. All actionable claim means what? On which you can enforce a claim or you can enforce it in the court of law. All such claims are referred to as goods. Actionable claims are those which can be enforced to the court of law. So you, in case of any breach, in case of any disremoval, you can go to the court and you can make a claim. Old rare coins, stock, shares, debentures, goodwill, patents, trademark, copyright, even water, gas, electricity, then grass, growing crops, trees, furniture, books, clothing, and such movable properties are goods and can be sold. So the Sale of Goods Act covers all such movable properties and the goods to be sold. Money is excluded from the term of sale of goods, but old rare coins which are not in use or which are not in circulation can be treated as an asset, hence they are included in goods. This is how we can say that goods are all actionable claims which can be enforced through the court of law, and there can be some examples which I have given to constitute as goods. Now let us understand the kinds of goods. There are three kinds of goods, that is existing goods, future goods and contingent goods. Let us understand this one by one. The first is existing goods. What is it? These are the goods which are in actual existence at the time of contract of sale. It is further classified as follows. So when you are making the contract of sale, such goods are in actual existence when the contract is getting made. There are some classification of these types of goods. There is first classification is specific goods. These are the goods which are identified and agreed upon at the time when contract of sale is made, like specific refrigerator, washing machine, motorcycle, etc. So they can be specifically identified and agreed upon by the seller and by the buyer. Hence these are called as specific kind of goods. The second is ascertained goods. These are identified and agreed upon after a contract of sale is made. So they are not agreed or identified firstly. First the contract of sale is made and thereafter they are identified and agreed upon. And third is unascertained goods. These are the goods which are described by description or sample only. These are not specifically identified at the time the contract of sale is made. You have not seen, that means the buyer have not seen the goods yet when the contract is making, but he has seen only the description or the sample, but the original goods have not yet seen, but they are in existence, but they are in actual existence, only the buyer has not yet seen, hence it is called as unascertained goods. So there are specific goods which are actually present while making the sales. There are ascertained goods which are ascertained after the contract is made, and there are some unascertained goods which are only described by the sample or some descriptions. Thereafter, the next is future goods. These are the goods to be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller after the making of contract of sale. That means these goods are being produced at a future date or which are going to be produced after the contract of sale is made. In case of some customized products, in case of some customized things, the seller and the buyer makes the agreements first, and then they make the goods or they manufacture the goods. These are the goods which are not in existence at the time of contract of sales, because they are getting manufactured or produced or acquired after the contract of sale. Hence, these are not in existence while making the sale. For example, P agrees to sell to Q the entire crop of onions that his farm would yield in the next season at rupees 300 per quintal. So now, when making the sale agreement, the crop of onion is not yet produced, but even though the sale is made between the P and Q for rupees 300 per quintal, and when the crop of onion will grows, the sale will be get executed. This is what about future goods. The next are contingent goods. Contingent goods are those the acquisition of which by the seller depends upon a contingency which may or may not happen. That means the sale or purchase of such goods depend upon some contingent event which can happen or which may not happen. These are a type of future goods because their acquisition depends upon a contingency which may or may not happen. This is also called as future goods because they are dependent upon the future event. If the future event happens, the sale will get executed, and if the future event will not get happen, the sale will not get executed. Let's take the example. P agreed to sell Q a specific rare vintage car provided he is able to purchase it from its present owner. If Q wants to purchase it from the present owner, then only P agreed to sell the specific rare vintage car to the Q. If Q is not able to purchase it from the present owner with a specific price, then P will not agree to sell that rare vintage car to Q. In this case, we can say that contingent goods are those which can be, or the sale of which goods can be conducted at a future event depending upon such contingency which may or may not happen. So thank you all of you. I hope you have understood the basic of Sale of Goods Act, the difference between sale and sale agreement, as well as different types of goods. Thank you.